This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Hi, welcome to The Clash, where we take a Christian worldview and allow it to clash into the culture around us. And when it's all said and done, hopefully we say something that will encourage, entertain, enlighten, educate, whatever, enhance your life in amazing ways. I'm Jeff Dixon, and I sit in this chair, but the one you really want to hear is sitting in the chair to my right, that screen left. That's the one, the only, the saint himself, Chris Whaley. How you doing, Chris?
Doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I like what we're talking about today. It's going to be fun.
I do too. And I just want to give the audience a little heads up here, man. We got some good stuff coming in the future. We're going to have an interview with Diamond Dallas Page, DDP. We're going to have an interview with Dangerous Danny Spivey, and I can't wait for that because, and I'll tell that story when we interview him. But then we're going to be interviewing the director and a couple of producers from a movie that is coming out in October entitled The Jesus Tapes. We're also going to show the world premiere trailer for that movie on our show. We are the show that the trailer is going to premiere on.
For the first time ever in human history?
First time in human history, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but why don't a couple of yo-yos like us do that?
Because I guess because we're fortunate, yeah. I
love it. No,
but that's not about
coming up. That is coming up. Yeah.
Today is about God and sports. Are you excited?
I am excited about that. I mean, I'm a sports fan, so I always like to see how God kind of fits into the mix. And so we're going to kind of break that down a little bit and talk about what that means and how we as Christians kind of navigate the world of sport, or how we should maybe.
Yep.
And we'll probably say some things that you will agree with, some that you don't agree with, and some that you never thought about before.
But plus, I think that we are credited with the ability to tackle this subject because, audience, if you did not know, my partner here was a world-class athlete. He was a runner for Florida State. He ran for the country. I mean, he's a big deal. I just got to wrestle in little shows and get my head beat up, but this guy is a true athlete.
And it goes to illustrate the point. It's tough to be famous when no one knows who you are. There you go. So as always, but we're going to come back after this break, and we're going to start talking about God and sports. So don't go anywhere. Get ready. It's going to be great.
Jeff, do you remember the first Bible verse you memorized?
I do. I have sometimes trouble remembering the address of it, but it's John 11:35. Jesus wept. Now, when I was a kid, they were having a contest, and the goal was go home this week and come back and memorize the Bible verse. I'm a practical kid, right? I'm like, okay, what's the shortest verse I can find in the Bible? And sure enough, 2 words, Jesus wept. Fantastic, I'm on it. And so that was the first verse I ever memorized. And other people memorized John 3:16. I mean, and they were doing great stuff. But me, I just kept it simple. But I found out over time, though, that in those 2 words, I have discovered so much about Jesus and the way that he connects to us, the way he feels about us, the way he feels our pain, meets us at our point of need, his compassion and caring. It's really all wrapped up in those 2 words. And so for me, although it's silly, it's also the first verse I ever remember as a kid. Hi, welcome back. We're talking about God and sports. Now, Chris, I will tell you, way back when in high school, when I ran track, there was a gentleman who was probably the best hurdler in Central Florida. When I was a junior in high school, he was a senior. He ran for Oak Ridge High School here in Orlando. I was at Edgewater High School, home of the mighty Eagles. But Kevin, good guy. And I was still kind of learning to hurdle, trying to put my athletic career together. And the first meet I remember running in high school, we were standing there, and I was next to Kevin Smith, who was supposed to win the race, but in the lane next to him was this guy, and as he was warming up, he kept kind of getting back, and then he kept crossing himself.
Oh.
Yeah, crossing himself, you know. And I'm watching him, and I'm trying to get a feel for this thing called high school track, and I looked at Kevin Smith, and I said, the guy's doing that. I said, does it help him run faster? And Kevin said, no, he's just not a good hurdler. And at the end of the day, it caused me, for one of the very first times in my life, to think about, well, how does God really feel about sports?
Yeah.
Now, again, as a junior, I didn't think about it much. But as time has gone by, now I'm a much more seasoned adult, I have thought about it a great deal. And believe it or not, 74% of Americans this year will watch some type of athletic sport competition, either in person or on television. Okay, so that's 3/4 of our nation are going to watch sports. 60% of Americans, in a survey they did 2 years ago, consider themselves by their own proclamation as sports fans. So sport is a part of our American culture. I mean, it is part of the fabric of what we know, what we understand, what we do that helps make us America. And so with those numbers being as high as they are, sports fans or not a sports fan, people are exposed to sports all the time, and it's probably a topic that we ought to think about maybe more than we do. Because like anything else, our faith fits into it somehow. And so how do we honor God in this whole thing of sport? And more importantly, what do we think that God thinks about sports, and how does it all fit together? And so that really is kind of the gist of what we're going to do in this episode. And I think it's probably a little bit more highbrow than some of our other episodes, because I mean it really does kind of tap into a lot of things that really happen in the world around us. So so we'll see how that clashes together. What do you think?
Yeah. Or could I ask you some questions?
Sure. Do you want answers?
Before I do, I got to tell you, when I was a teenager, I went to one of my first professional boxing matches, and actually had good seats because of the guy that took me, an older gentleman. And sure enough, it was a couple of Hispanic guys that were boxing, and one of them, got down on a knee, and he doing that, and I looked at the guy and said, "What does that mean?" He never even fluffed. He just said, "Hey, if you can't box, it doesn't mean a thing."
Right. In fact, it's the whole same hurdling story, right? He's not a good hurdler. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but I think God does fit into the mix somehow, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
and maybe one of these questions might ponder another response. But
okay.
Who's the greatest Christian athlete that you've ever admired?
I think. I mean, again, and I think there's a lot of professing Christians out there, right? I think perhaps the one that hit my radar in the most impactful way was when David Robinson played for Navy in basketball, and then went on to play basketball for the Spurs, San Antonio Spurs in the NBA. Very vocal, very well spoken as far as knowing how to get in front of a crowd and just share his faith passionately. Yeah, I got to hear him do it in person one time, which was very, very cool. And then the other one is probably a soccer player, because we just finished the World Cup, that no one remembers, but Kyle Rote Jr.
Yeah.
Christian athlete, and not afraid to speak up for Christ. And so as I was a kid growing up, I think those were the first people I remember really stepping into the spotlight.
Right.
So how about you? I mean, who?
Well, it pains me to say this.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. I know who you're going to say. I know what's coming here. I knew it was going to show up.
I'm a big Florida State fan, and we've been in pain and suffering for a long time. But, Tim Tebow, and I'll tell you why, is because he not only, lived it on the field, but he lives it in his daily walk.
Yeah.
Plus, he has given back, so he's very very big on missions in the Philippines, which is, I guess, where he grew up. His dad was a missionary. And he gives tremendous amounts to the Philippine missions. He does a lot with, child sex trafficking.
Yep, he does.
So he's one. I mean, that's an easy one. I think a lot of people admire Tim Tebow, but he just comes to my radar when you ask.
Well, he does. I mean, and I'm not a Florida fan.
No, I'm not.
So obviously, because with my ties to Florida State, but after Tim Tebow graduated from Florida, I liked him a lot better.
Yeah.
But I think you're right though. I mean, I think probably in our modern era, maybe generationally, he may be the most well-known and outspoken Christian athlete, and has done a good job with it. Because again, I mean, it's that old, you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and then it's real. And he seems to do that.
Yeah, he does.
And I think for him, I think the proof has been, historically now in what he has done since he is retired.
Yeah.
And he's continued to really shine brightly and share his faith in powerful ways and make an impact.
And there was another Florida quarterback, Danny Orful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love Danny. Thought he's great Christian in his walk. Met him in person. But I really liked him after he graduated and left Florida. That's when I liked him.
So what is this underlying tone where you keep liking Florida quarterbacks all of a sudden? You're a Florida State guy. How can you do that? This is probably worth a whole other episode. How did you make that, get across that bridge?
I don't know. We need to get off of that.
Okay.
Let me ask you, is it harder to be a Christian in sports today than it was 30 years ago?
I think it is.
It is. I agree with you.
Why do you think it is?
Well, 30 years ago, I don't think we had, social media, cell phones. I mean, one guy can take a picture on his cell phone, and by the end of the day, millions of people can see it.
Yeah.
And so, in that day, there wasn't, I guess, all the big hoopla or whatever with Christian athletes. I don't think they had, the pressure on them that they have on today. There's several reasons. What do you think?
I think that's a big part of it. I think social media. I think the evolution of the 24-hour news cycle, multiple 24-hour sports stations, streaming, cable networking, all of that.
Yeah.
That we have filled the airways with stuff where years ago we didn't even hear about some of these athletes in their life away from the fact that of the 2 hours you saw them in a game. Now, depending on who the athlete is, every aspect of their life comes under the radar. And so, the good news about that is you get to know people. So if you're a Christian and you're living it out, it shows. The bad news is you don't have the luxury of a bad moment or letting your guard down, because that gets captured and shared everywhere, and before you know it, it can trash your career if you're not careful.
30 years ago, they had more privacy.
Yeah.
Today, you don't have privacy.
Yeah, and I think that part of that too is the athlete themselves. They don't want privacy for the most part. I mean, there is a whole lot more of the self-promotion that takes place, probably because it's necessary to get your looks, necessary to make the connections and I was going to say the likes, but also that popularity wave, which we're trying to make it and carve your niche. And so it's really a catch-22.
Yeah.
We desire more visibility, and at the same time probably would like a little bit more privacy.
Yeah. Can trash talking ever be biblical?
Well, I always said growing up on the basketball court, trash talking was one of my spiritual languages. I mean, I could say words on a basketball court that I would never say anywhere else in my entire existence, and felt like it was awfully spiritual at the time. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, I think when David faced Goliath and Goliath said something to him, David responded back, "Man, this day I'm going to have your head," and all that. I think David did a little trash talking.
I think you probably can use a little bit of trash talk. I think you have to be careful with the language that you use.
Oh yeah.
And I think in the arena of sport, I don't necessarily think it's a sin unless you let it go too far. And then it could be a problem. I'm sure that some of those things I was thinking about on the basketball court probably went too far. But again, that was before the age of social media, so no one really ever knows. That's probably the only confession they're going to get. But we're just kind of getting started here. And it's time for us to take a break.
Okay.
And so we're going to take a break. We're going to come back after the break, continue our God and sport conversation. Hopefully you're having a good time with it. I am.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey, Chris, I wonder, normally we're sitting in a wrestling ring. What is this thing behind us?
There's a great movie coming out in October. We are going to premiere the trailer for the Jesus tapes on our show on August the 17th, and you don't want to miss it.
Now, that'll be a special episode. It's going to be an hour long.
Right.
And we're going to have people who have helped put this film together.
Right.
This is like a major Hollywood release.
It's a big deal.
You and I are kind of a part of it.
It's a big deal. Don't miss it.
Hey, Chris, I was just doing my laundry, and look what I found.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that. The Clash.
The Clash t-shirt.
I love that.
You know what makes it so special?
Why?
Well, because this is the Clash TV show. This is our logo. This came out of my laundry bucket. That means that these t-shirts are available for everybody to buy. And that means that when you need to do some shopping, that special gift, think about it.
Yep.
You've been invited to a wedding.
Right.
You buy a wedding present for the bride and groom.
Wow.
Matching Clash t-shirts.
How awesome
Every
would that
home
be?
needs that. You know, when they have a baby, what do you want to get the baby?
A onesie.
A onesie, a Clash onesie. You can get that as well.
Right.
If you're looking for that extra special gift for a loved one,
Right.
you can go to the Clash store and get a Clash journal. You can get Clash magnets. You can get Clash widgets and gadgets and keychains. All of that is available. All you have to do is visit the Clash store.
We live in a great day, Jeff.
We do. And perhaps the greatest store out there is the Clash store. So follow the QR code at the bottom of the screen. You can go to the Clash store and get stuff your very own. It'll make us happy. It'll make the show even better. And you can put on your Clash gear while you watch every single episode of the Clash.
Absolutely.
Hi, we're talking about God and sports. Chris and I are kind of talking about just stuff that relates to sports and sports in America and how our Christianity kind of rolls into it. And so we're kind of going back and forth a little bit and just kind of fielding some questions that I guess anybody who's going to tackle this subject might have.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Have we made youth sports too important?
Yes.
I agree.
I think we have, and this will hack off or alienate or challenge parents because I mean it's part of it though, and in fairness to moms and dads and athletes is part of it is really part of the cultural change and climate that's happened in our world today. Back in the day, there used to be a unspoken Sunday, Wednesday moratorium on sports and things like that, and allowing church to kind of carve its niche as well, and parents held to that. And then as time has gone by, the development of youth sports has become bigger. It's a big business, multi-million-dollar business. And so as a result, there are parents who are throwing their kids into these athletic environments at young ages and paying big bucks. And when you invest with your pocketbook, then you're going to invest your time to get your money's worth. And so, I mean, I get it. I understand how it happens. And I understand how it's really hard to balance that out. And it becomes a very painful struggle to watch. Because you know this, I know this, and parents do know this as well, or if not, they should know this. The number of athletes that start when they're kids, by the time they navigate middle school and high school, that get to go and play at the NCAA level is a very small percentage. And then the percentage past that will go on and participate in international competition, minuscule number. And those that will go into a professional athletic field, minuscule number. And so it forces the question, I think, that some people don't want to ask: is this the best investment of my time and the development of my child to make them into that person that positions him to be who God wants him to be? And you know it, and I know it. We've seen the stories where parents, they push too hard, it becomes more important for the parents, and the parents are living their life through the kids. And then the kids, they do it for a while, and they get bored with it, and all of a sudden they just kind of disappear, and they fall off the face of the earth, and you don't know or hear from these athletes again. And then the other kids who have an athletic bent, I mean, all of a sudden they're getting looks from colleges when they're in middle school now. So I mean, it's a hard cycle to break, and I think that for parents, my advice as pastors always: look, you have to make a decision for your children and your family. But remember, before your child is an athlete, he is a child of God. So are you doing everything you can do to make him the best child of God possible? And I've had parents that have struggled with it. Some have done well. Some have blown it badly. I have a parent that I'm thinking about that their rule for their child athletically, and he was a good athlete, was no games on Sunday. They held Sunday as a sacred day as long as they possibly could. But it got to a point where, again, the pressure and the travel just didn't allow that. But I mean, again, that made a big statement. I know when my daughter was playing soccer, Wednesday nights were non-negotiable. She wasn't going to be practicing on Wednesday night. She was going to be at church. Sometimes that worked good. Sometimes it didn't work good. But so all that to say, the struggle is real. I think parents have to be the starting point, because the kids are going to key off them. Because most kids don't want it as badly as the parents do. The parents do the driving. And so the parents have to get them there. And I think you get to a point where the kid's old enough to make their own choices, and that's a whole different thing. But right up until then, it really is the parents being the driving force. And so I think parents have got to get a handle on it first before their kids ever have to struggle with this. And that's my take. I mean, that's kind of where I think it comes back to parenting and commitment to Christ and what's important.
If you're on any of the social media apps on your phone or on your tablet, Jeff, how many times have you seen something happening at a youth sport event where parents got into fights? Oh my goodness, look at what happened in Texas, where one of the athletes stabbed another athlete, made national, international news. I love football. I love football. Can't wait. Football is getting closer and closer. And, I'd watch football, college football, and I'd say, there's a hold, and he didn't even call it. Or, there's a face mask. He missed that. My wife said, why don't you be an official? I mean, you see all this stuff. Why don't you be official? I said, So I went online, I filled out the papers, and I went, and I took the class, I took the test. I was out on the field, man, and I had parents screaming from the fence line at me for a call that I made. I had coaches stand there and scream in my ear until I, threw the flag for unsportsmanlike or whatever, and then that really made them mad. And then the guy that booked us, he said, well, you're a pastor. He said, I'm going to book you for these Christian schools. And Jeff, I had to call that guy and say, please don't send me to any of the Christian schools. I mean, I heard more F-bombs drop on the Christian field. I had more coaches talk ugly to me and more parents scream at me at Christian games than the local high schools. Yeah. And so I think it's out of hand today with youth sports, and that we've made it way too important than it is. With the statistics that you gave, you know, my wife was a high school teacher, and she would tell the kids how important it was to learn this math. And I can't tell you how many kids told her, well, I'm not going to need this because I'm going to be a pro football player.
Yeah.
I'm not going to need this because I'm going to be a pro basketball player and all. And she would tell them, you know, you have a better chance of being abducted by a Lebanese terrorist on February the 30th than you will in getting into pro sports. No, they'd still think they were getting into that. And we both know that very, very, very small percentage of kids that make that. But enough. I digress.
But how do you fix that? I mean, how do you throttle that back?
You know, they're not listening in church today when we preach. So if you got an idea, I'd like to hear it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish I had a grand fix for it. I think at the end of the day, it comes back to something I just kind of kind of kicked at around on the tires on just a little bit earlier. I think it's like anything else in life, right? We have to as followers bring everything under the lordship of Christ.
Right.
I think that starts with parents getting a handle on this, maybe early on in the parenting journey, because we want the best for our kids. We want our kids to be socially engaged. We want them to fit in. We want them to have fun. We want them to be in shape. I mean, so for all the right reasons, we throw our kids into these sports environments. But I think that also that if the sport environment though becomes unhealthy, that as a parent we have to pull them out of that a little bit, and that's hard to do. But we have to model that for our kids. I think that would go a long way toward helping a little bit. But I mean, that's just for a Christian kind of navigating. I'm not sure you can pull back the reins on the runaway culture as we kind of deal with sport, which are great fun. I mean, and while I love them, I mean, you kind of cringe sometimes. I mean, and I think for going to a ball game, I think yelling at a referee if you're not being obnoxious and overly rude. I mean, you pay your money, you yell at a referee when you blow a call, and you just go off life and leave it there. Some people can't leave it there. Some referees can't let it go. And I think that becomes one of those things where you've got to figure out how do we all get there together.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I got thrown out of a high school basketball game for yelling at the referee. He stopped the game and yelled at me and threatened to throw me out of stands.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm looking like, you're going to throw me out after all the calls you're missing on the floor? You're picking on me? And he looked at me and goes, one more word, Drag? I'm like, one more word. I said, the game is going on behind you right now and you're looking at me. Turn around and call the game for the first time. You want to borrow my glasses? And so, of course, I would not use any language that I wouldn't use in front of my mom.
Did you get kicked out?
No, he finally left me alone. But I'm just thinking to myself, you have got to be kidding. And I was just a spectator. I had to walk over to the head coach and say the head coach of the team I was rooting for. I'm like, man, I am so sorry. He goes, no. He goes, he's blowing every call. He goes, you're yelling at him. I can't get away with that. Keep yelling at him, okay? So I just kept going. But and after the game, I was talking to the official. I'm like, dude, what did I say that just hacked you off so bad? Yeah. He goes, I just didn't need your help. I'm like, well, yeah, you did, but I mean, that was the point. You did need my help. Yeah. But I mean, that's all part. I mean, part of that is the fun of it. But then, but if it gets out of hand, then at that point, we're not going, my God.
You're one of the writers for Kentucky basketball. Do you ever put any derogatory comments on there about the refs? And do it real shortly.
Never.
Never. Okay.
All right. So at the end of the day, well, we've talked a lot about sport. We're going to have to come back in another episode and talk some more about it. What do we need to know?
Okay. Let me end with this. One day, every trophy is going to collect dust. Every championship banner is going to fade. Every record is eventually going to be broken. But the way we represent Christ on the field, on the court, in the stands, that has eternal value. So make sure you do it right and don't tap out.